P23. Knowledge, access, power. P23. Wellness and understanding at your fingertips. P23. And that's no cap.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of P23 Lab Talks. I'm your host, Dr. Tiffany Montgomery, and today we have a fascinating topic to explore: your DNA diet. This episode of P23 Lab Talks, your DNA, your diet, uncovering the role of genetic factors in nutritional health. I am going to be joined by my esteemed co-host, a true industry pioneer, organizer, and innovator, the Director of Revenue, Marketing, Sales, and Services at P23, Angie Crouch, with a wide range of expertise in the field of molecular testing, customer service, and operations. She brings a strong knowledge base to our discussions. Not only is she an executive, she is a wife, a mother, a sister, a friend, a daughter, a cousin, a niece, and she is a volunteer and football mom to countless youth in her area. She spends her weekends with her house full of children that do not even belong to her, even though she has a village of her very own, constantly giving back to the young men and women of tomorrow in her city. So with all of that experience, not only being an expert in the industry, but just being a down-to-earth person who takes this life one day at a time, we are thrilled to have Angie join us today. And Angie, I'd like you to greet the people and welcome to P23 Lab Talks.
Thank you so much for your amazing introduction. If I did not hear my name countless times throughout that introduction, I would have wondered, who is this phenomenal person she is speaking of? So I am not even going to try to introduce myself or give any more information on who I am. So thank you for that. I am very excited to be here and happy to share my time, my thoughts, and my talents with you and your listeners today.
Thank you so much. And like I said, we're honored to have you. So this is going to be great. Have you ever wondered why some people thrive on certain diets while others struggle to see results? Well, the answer might lie within our genetic makeup. In this episode, we'll dive deep into the world of nutrigenomics and discover how our genes affect what we eat today. As we're thinking about a DNA diet, Angie, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I am really intrigued about learning more about a DNA diet. Growing up, being an athlete, it was always, athletes need to eat carbs before games and load up on protein. And it was based on lifestyle, what we put into our bodies and not necessarily our DNA and what our body is telling us that we need. So I'm very excited to learn more about this. I'm still working with athletes today, my children, and as you mentioned, countless other athletes, and being able to learn more about this and educate others on this very topic is very intriguing for me and exciting.
Well, you bring up some key points, and I want to stop you and just reiterate. A DNA diet can work for an athlete as well as a non-athlete. And while I greatly admire athletes, you, your team, your squad, all that you do, I want to remind everybody that no matter where you are in life, a DNA diet could be right for you. Don't run because Angie mentioned athleticism, because, if you don't know anything about Dr. Montgomery, She is not athletic at all. My favorite sport was how many books can you read in one night and nobody can beat me. So with that, we all have our own version of what we define as athletic, but we all benefit so much. Why? Because we all have DNA. Everybody's DNA is unique to them, unless you're identical twin. And that's a whole nother podcast for another day. But for the most part, all of us who are not identical twins, a DNA diet is also known as a personalized or genetic-based diet. And it is an approach that takes into account an individual's genetic information to determine the most suitable diet for them. Our genes influence various aspects of our metabolism, including how we process nutrients, our sensitivity to certain foods, and even our preferences for specific flavors. You ever notice how sometimes in your family, everybody likes this or everybody hates that? Or when you gather for a Thanksgiving, everybody has to have, grandma's dressing or Aunt Bessie's eggs or, whatever that thing is. And we probably never stop to think about how even specific flavors are embedded in our DNA. Or even sometimes you'll see certain cultures will eat certain types of food or always cook with certain spices. And we identify those spices with that culture. Now, when you think about it from a non-scientific way, it all begins to click and kind of make sense. But what you never think about is that those flavors could be in your DNA. By analyzing a person's genetic makeup, we can gain insights into their unique nutritional needs and design a diet plan that optimizes their health and well-being. Obtaining genetic information for a DNA diet typically involves a simple saliva or blood test. The sample is then analyzed to identify specific genetic variations known as single nucleotide polymorphisms, or SNPs, that are associated with various aspects of nutrition and metabolism. These SNPs can provide insights into a person's ability to digest certain nutrients, their response to different dietary components like fats, carbohydrates, and proteins, as well as their risk for certain conditions, such as obesity or diabetes. Angie, have you ever noticed any of these patterns within families and just kind of thought they were patterns? Or do you think most people are recognizing now that that's DNA related?
I'll be honest here. I do know, when you go to the doctor's office and they are having you check that health questionnaire, I've always thought that that was related to DNA because they want to know which side of the family it is, the pattern is on. So that I do feel like I had some background knowledge on, but exactly what those factors are, I have not noticed the patterns. I'm not a huge math person, and patterns are in math, and me and math, we don't quite get along. So, but that is very interesting fact. And I think that a lot of people are wondering the same thing, when it comes to their health. Why do these things happen to me, and my family? Or why doesn't this happen to my friend who lives a certain lifestyle and I'm stuck with all of these health issues? And so, I think it is important for us to dive in and learn more about this.
And I think understanding genetic analysis and what's out there now in terms of where we are and the advancements that we've made, not even thinking about the future and what's to come, but just in looking at where we are and knowing that genetic analysis can help us and guide us in so many ways, having the testing done, such as P23 optimum testing, gives you a genetic analysis that's complete. And with that, a personalized diet plan can be created based on an individual's specific genetic variations. For example, someone with a genetic predisposition to obesity might be advised to follow a low carbohydrate diet, as they may have a reduced ability to process carbohydrates efficiently. On the other hand, individuals with certain genetic variants may benefit from a higher intake of monosaturated fats, such as those found in olive oil or avocados. I have a sister that just loves avocados. She could eat them fried, boiled, raw, fresh. I mean, you name it. And it's really good for her DNA-based diet. By aligning the diet with the person's genetic profile, we can optimize their nutrient intake and improve their overall health outcomes. With that, Angie, I'm going to open up the floor to you for a couple of questions from our listeners, viewers, and followers on social media.
Okay, yes, there have been some questions coming in, and I do want to bring up the topic of food intolerance. I've seen quite a few questions on that. So the question I want to ask is, can genetic testing help individuals identify foods that they may be intolerant to or have difficulty digesting?
Thank you for that question, Angie. And I think it is important to understand that genetic testing can provide some information about a person's susceptibility to certain types of food intolerance, but it is not a definitive diagnostic tool for identifying specific food allergies. It's important to understand the difference between intolerances and allergies. And food intolerances are typically caused by the body's inability to properly digest or metabolize certain components of food, such as lactose or gluten. These intolerances are often due to deficiencies in specific enzymes. Genetic testing can help identify certain genetic variants that may be associated with an increased risk of developing certain types of food intolerances. For example, genetic variations in lactose or the lactase gene can be associated with lactose intolerance. However, it's important to note that having these genetic variants does not necessarily mean that a person will definitely have a food intolerance. The most accurate way to identify food intolerance is through a combination of medical history symptoms and specific diagnostic tests, such as the P23 optimum. Elimination diets, where suspected foods are removed from the diet, then gradually reintroduced, can also help identify specific food triggers. In some cases, medical professionals may recommend tests such as lactose intolerance breath tests or gluten sensitivity tests to confirm the diagnosis. If you suspect you have food intolerances, it's best to consult with a healthcare professional, such as a doctor or a registered dietitian within the P23 Health membership program, who can guide you through an appropriate diagnostic process and help develop a suitable management plan. That's a great question. Do you have one more?
I do. Speaking of diets and everything, I do see a few more questions coming in related to weight gain, weight loss, and obesity. So I think the best question to sum up all of these questions that your listeners are having is, how can we use genetic data to identify individuals who may be at a higher risk for obesity or other weight-related conditions? And what interventions can we use to mitigate these risks?
Angie, I think that's a great question. I think a lot of people do have that question. So I appreciate you bringing that to the table just so we could talk about it a little bit. And I think genetics can play a role in weight loss and obesity, but it is just one piece of the puzzle. While certain genetic variations can influence a person's predisposition to gain weight or affect their metabolism, they do not solely determine whether someone will be obese or how successful their weight loss efforts will be. The interplay between genetics and weight regulation is complex. Some genetic factors can affect appetite control, metabolism, fat storage, and the body's response to exercise. That is what we focus on with our P23 optimum. For instance, variations in the FTO gene have been associated with an increased risk of obesity. However, it's important to note that having these genetic variations does not mean you have to be overweight or obese. Environmental factors certainly play a part, such as diet, physical activity levels, lifestyle choices. These are all things that we have to consider and find balance with. Weight loss and management primarily rely on a combination of healthy, balanced diet, regular physical activities, genetic predisposition, behavior modification, and lifestyle changes. While genetic testing can provide some insights into individual characteristics and metabolic traits, it is not a determining factor in weight loss success. Personalized approaches to weight management, which take into an account an individual's genetic, lifestyle, and medical factors, may become more prevalent in the future. They may become more popular, they may become better understood, but they're certainly available now. However, at the present time, genetic testing is not widely used as a standalone tool for weight loss guidance. However, at P23, we have to understand its importance and the significant contribution that it makes to understanding the topic. If you are concerned about your weight or are seeking assistance with weight loss, it is advisable to consult with a healthcare professional such as a doctor, registered dietitian, or weight loss specialist, such as those available to you as a member of P23 Health, who can provide you with personalized recommendations based on your unique circumstances. I want to thank you for those questions, Angie, and thank you for joining us. It's important that we have these types of discussions so we can understand where we are and what needs to happen next. I think from the questions you asked and from the conversation that we had tonight, we leave asking ourselves, how do we strike a balance between genetic influences and lifestyle choices? It's all about personalized and holistic approaches. Understanding our genetic predispositions can help us make more informed choices about our diet. But it also is important to consider other factors, such as activity levels, stress levels, sleep patterns, and overall lifestyle habits. It's about finding the right balance between genetics and the environment to optimize our health. In this episode of P23 Telelab Talks, we were joined by our phenomenal co-host, Angie Crouch, Director of Revenue at P23. In this episode, Your DNA, Your Diet, we uncovered the role of genetic factors in nutritional health and talked about some of the factors that go into making that decision, such as the FTO gene and many others, as well as the solution, or one of the solutions available to us, which would include P23 Health, the membership intake and care team that is composed of registered dietitians, nurses, doctors, and weight loss specialists, as well as the use of P23 Optimum so that we can understand our genetics, our susceptibility, and how we can control our environment and diet based on who we are. It's about understanding the total you, right? At P23, we call that the 720 degrees of analysis that you won't get anywhere else. Some people say, Dr. Montgomery, why 720? Well, we all know a circle is 360, and at P23, we like to cover it twice. We want to make sure we take a thorough and comprehensive position in helping you understand who you are. And that is no cap. I want to thank you, listeners, also for tuning in to this episode of P23 Telelab Talks. We hope you found this discussion on DNA diets insightful and thought-provoking. We want you to stay curious, but more importantly, we want you to stay tuned. Why? For us, it's not about numbers of viewers. It's about you. Here at P23 Health, we're passionate about helping you live your longest, healthiest, and happiest life possible. And guess what? It is all backed by science. Thank you for tuning in to P23 Telelab Talks. We exist to help you capitalize on your health and wellness, empowering you to embrace a richer quality of life with a treasure trove of success stories from individuals just like you. We're here to guide you towards your goals. At P23, we're with you every step of the way. Until next time, be well.
P23. Knowledge, access, power. P23. Wellness and understanding at your fingertips. P23. And that's no cap. What you need, your genes already know. P23 Labs can help you find your flow. At P23 Labs, if health is wealth, then it's time we analyze and understand our luxury. P23 Labs committing to partnering with you for a total well-being experience. What you need,